For this project, we have chosen an organization that relates to everyone in this room. The magnitude and importance of Creighton University's Department of Resident Life is often overlooked, which is why we want to dive in deeper. We talked to a few of Resident Life's key contributors to gain knowledge on how they view the importance of communication in the workplace. The three people you will be hearing from today were chosen to understand the different levels within residence life here at Creighton, and how each person's role is important in different ways in the way residence life functions.
Hello, I'm Harrison Biggs. I'm the Assistant Resident Director for Gallagher Hall in the Department of Residence Life.
My name is Lucas Novotny. My official title is the Assistant Director of Residence Life for Summer Conferences, Technology, and Marketing.
My name is Katie Keenan and I'm a senior. This is my second year in Residence Life. I am the RA for the Freshman Leadership Program and have been a part of that program for 2 years now as their RA.
Often, I think the way my desk is structured is it's much like this. We're not at my desk, but so my computer sits here, and I think a big thing is kind of opening yourself up to the communication and showing and giving them eye contact, turning away the distractions that sits over here, and engaging in the conversation with them, opening yourself to them. If I need to and I really want to have a conversation, I actually get beyond my desk. I'll set up my table that is over there, or I'll slide around to the side onto the same level as them. Those are a lot of tactics that I want to use, because I think that the noise of your computer and things happening can be distracting.
Well, the tactics that we're taught in training are both the physical aspect, such as eye contact or getting on their level and kind of having a soothing voice, not yelling at them. And then the more mental tactics of quieting down, letting them speak up. Sometimes silence says volumes, and that person might feel the need to fill that space, and so they'll delve further into whatever issue they want to talk about.
So I think a positive way is that when you're working with a resident, and if you have a resident who's like a visual learner, you can pull up those visuals. You can use technology to define different things online. A couple examples of that is I had some residents come to me and they're my same major and they're like, I don't know how to make my 4-year plan. And so we pulled up the major's website and there was like documents on there that they could print off to help with that. And so that's a way we can use technology. They can see that, I can show them, and they're going to be able to repeat that later on. Another example is I have 2 residents who are in an argument right now about cleaning, and so we were able to make a cleaning schedule. And so it's easy to do that on technology. We can type it in, I can email it to them, they can print it, rather than trying to write it out, and it just looks nicer. And so there's ways that you can use it that positively impacts that communication.
I'd say it's crucial to my position with the desk, because I will not always be there, and if something needs to get conveyed to a desk receptionist or a resident, we can just send out an email. I can text them if it's urgent, phone calls, just being able to be in constant communication even when we're not present there is a necessity.
But a lot of times their busy schedules are my peers' busy schedules, just easiest, I think, easy to email.
And then it's negative, like it can be distracting. If you have your computer open and you're trying to show a resident something, a text message might pop up or an email. So there's like distractions with technology as there's a lot going on.
Try to, in my role, pick up the phone, answer the question right away. It's much easier to get that knocked off than have to have your inbox pile up.
There's different communication styles, and so understanding when you are talking to someone, how are they receiving the message that I'm putting out there, and so how can you also put that message out there in a different way that they're going to understand. And so I think it's understanding on how to take your communication message and make it specific to that student, because one student might hear something but the other student's going to hear something different. And so just realizing that everyone learns and hears differently, and so how can you effectively communicate? And that's a barrier. And I think it's something as RAs we tend to learn as we go on, and we get to know our residents better and communicate with them and practice that. I think it's something I've done better in my second year than my first year, is just understanding my residents and the communication with them.
Another barrier, just today I responded to an email on my iPhone and I reread it and I was like, oh, that kind of came off pretty direct, but I was trying to get you a quick answer, and it came off kind of pushy. I was like, well, if you want me to resend this email that I sent 2 days ago, I can. When really I was like, oh, if you need me to resend it, I can do that. I have it right here. But it came off like passive aggressive. It came off punchy. So the lack of context and lack of trust in a relationship. If that was a person who I don't work with on an intimate basis, and so I didn't want them to misinterpret my context and take me as being pushy, because I really wasn't. So I had to send a second email to like, sorry, I was doing that quickly. I reread it. It didn't come off. It came off a little strong. It didn't need to be.
A lot of time together where you get to explain how you operate, how you get to learn how each person functions, and the more you know the people you're working with, the more comfortable you feel asking them questions and getting to know them more, like how they communicate.
I think I have a certain cadence about myself, like Natalie can maybe attest to. The ways in which I communicate in written form might not represent the way that I am in person, and you only get to know the context of who Lucas is by creating a relationship with him. And so I try to be intentional. I can be strong, I can be intense right up front. And so my students, I often ask them after they've been with me for about 6 months, I bet I was super intense when you first met me, right? And they're like, yeah. But I'm like, now you just know I'm just Lucas, right? And they're like, yeah. And so I think breaking down the barriers is developing a relationship with the people with whom I work. That's super important. Informal relationships allow you to get context, allow you to understand that person. And then when I send that sharply worded email quick, trying to get them the quick response, they're like, oh, Lucas wouldn't attack me. Like, he's not that guy, right? But if I don't have a relationship with them, things get out of hand, things get out of context. So I really do. I think developing a relationship with those whom you work is super important.
I think it's just understanding. I think you can ask for advice. We have resident directors that, have all different backgrounds, and our resident director is in conflict management, so he's able to kind of give tips on how can you work through that in conflict, how can you use different techniques to work through communication. I think so, like asking for help is always important. I think being direct with the students and the coworkers that you work with, I think asking them what can I do to make you understand this, or how can we communicate better? I think sometimes putting out there, having that discussion of what do I need from you, what do you want me to give you, kind of thing, is really helpful.
It's challenged right now. We're in a process where a lot of your peers are probably pretty frustrated at Residence Life right now when it comes to lottery processes and reserving rooms, and it's very challenging to communicate a comprehensive message to answer all the students' questions that they might have up front in a concise way. And a lot of students don't read their emails. They breeze by them, and then they come into our office very frustrated. And that frustration could have been eased had they read our email. And maybe that's incumbent upon us to communicate it differently, right? So I'm really struggling with how our communication styles are in conflict right now, because students are coming in this office all day today. I got some really frustrated peers because they've dealt with a lot of agitated students today, and they're kind of at their wits' end. That's a stressful time. Nobody wants to be mad at each other. So when a student comes in hot because they didn't get the right room, and they say it's our fault, well, let's talk about that. And I think finding the way to communicate the most concisely where students will read it, or your clients will read it, your customers will read it, and they'll get the information that they need. That's our challenge right now. That's something that we're trying to work towards.
I'd say residence life has helped my communication skills, most definitely. I've learned a lot through the department, but at the same time, there's a lot that you learn just in the heat of the moment on the job, in a situation, or just casual conversation with people that you might be supervising.